All right, we are live. Thank you for listening to the Confidence After Dark podcast. The main mission and focus of this podcast is to help couples learn to understand one another, listen to one another, and to create a healthy environment for their family using the power of femininity, intimacy, and vulnerability. If all you do is fight and argue, say hurtful things, and do hurtful things to each other, but you want this relationship to work, you just don't know how after everything that you've been through. I invite you to subscribe to this podcast because when you thrive, everyone else around you thrives. In today's episode, I have a special guest. Her name is Allyn, and she is the owner of Womanity. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Okay, she is the creator, founder, and owner of Womanity, which is a transformational coaching program that focuses on the soul operating system. And so I thought that was really interesting because I had never heard that term before, soul operating system. And I thought it would be interesting for the listeners who are maybe having trouble figuring out their path, where they're meant to be, if they're living in alignment with their soul's purpose. And so I'm hoping that the soul operating system can help answer some of those questions. And so I wanted to start off by, making sure that we have clarity and understanding. So could you tell us about yourself and about your business?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. I love the topic of couples, especially when it comes to soul work. Woo-manity is where woo and humanity converge. And to me, the future is woo. We have a lot of science around mindset and working with the brain and heart and all of this. And I'm like, I find that all of the science is in a plateau. They can't explain a lot of things. And it overlooks the main fact that we were all souls first before we existed in these bodies. And so this is the class really or the body part that we should have been taught that we had, like in kindergarten, like that song, head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
Yeah,
Everybody's had this that, right? It should have
right.
been soul, head, shoulders, knees and toes, because this is all how we began. First is the spark of light. And it has an entire operating system that up until really recently, many of us are aware of, are unaware of rather. And now pieces of it are showing up in different teachings, different places, different modalities, but I put it all together as the operating system. And I found that even things like couples and fighting and arguing, most of the root cause is because of the lack of connection with the soul, one person's soul. And so that inherent condition, it's a chronic condition in all individuals, in all of humanity for a very long time, actually, right? And so because of that, it's inevitable that when we engage with someone else, whether in as a couple in a loving relationship or work, there's going to be that playing out too, because we are the source of it.
Okay. Okay. So could you tell me a little bit more about what the soul operating system is?
Sure. It's an entire system. It's the energetic body of you. So you have a biological body, as we all do, and this is your energetic body. And it has its own set of anatomy, and it has its own way that it observes. It observes versus perceives, which is different. It is where the supranatural talents are. So, all the clair senses, uh, like clairvoyance and clairsentience and empathy and all of this. This is not the mind. It is your soul that has capacity. And for most people, it's running wild or uncontrolled, or it's been tainted by things you've lived through and had no tools to process. And so it's a little bit what's the word, modified, but temporarily. And so what is it? It is you in energetic form. And it has a boundary. It has a perimeter, for example. It has zones. It has a makeup. And it has systems. And it has a way that it engages with your nervous system, your mind, and your heart. And of course, your
So,
body.
right. So we can look at it like, those anatomy pictures where they have the different systems of the body, the skeletal system, the muscular system, the
Yes,
nervous
yeah.
system. Is that similar to the soul operating system? So the soul operating system has this system and this system and that system.
Yes, you overlay all of that on top of that body, like those projector sheets that we used to see in school, our teachers used to use. You
Yeah.
could. It's generally it's not a perfect circle. Some people's are more oblong, lengthened, but generally there's a round uh, perimeter around it, so you could overlay that whole thing into the physical body. Yes, absolutely. That's a great way to think of it.
Okay. And it's energy, but it's energy though. It's not something that you could like measure or
That's
maybe
absolutely
even
measurable.
physically. Oh, it is measurable? Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Technology is starting to catch up. I mean, there are now rooms like a thermography machine that you can walk in and it can scan your entire beingness. And so it's not as popular yet, but science catches up eventually.
Right,
But
right.
yes, it's absolutely measurable. Your emissions, what you put off is measurable. Absolutely. We have emissions like the way we have carbon emissions and gas emissions. Absolutely. Yes.
Right, right. So then what does the different emissions or the different zones within the operating system tell us?
It tells you what you're meant to be here for.
Mm.
It tells you what you're made of. It tells you uh, what are the what is it you're not made of that you're trying to make yourself do. This is a lot of contrast into the mind. It tells you where you've been. So there's two main parts in two big categories of systems in the soul. One is the undifferentiated part. And this is the part that a lot of religions and gurus and spirituality has already touched on. That's the part where, that saying, we're all one, we're all connected. So that's undifferentiated. That's what I mean by that. It's not individualized to us. Now, the other half is individualized with all our quirks and all our wants and our destiny and our free will and our tools. It's like our avatar, if you will. Like in video games, we very much have that. All our tools, all our codes. So
So
that's
in the undifferentiated system, what
Mhm.
are some of the similarities that they are saying that we all have, that we are all one?
That there's one mind, that we're a collective consciousness, that like if you look around, we're sort of done with the patriarchy and any kind of imbalance with, you know, imbalance around energies around masculinity and femininity and all of that kind of stuff. So as a collective, we have this one consciousness that we're all moving through. We individually have our own versions of it because of our experiences, but as a collective, we have like a unifying resonance of like, we are done with that. We are done
Mm.
with, we are done with not thinking about the decisions we make, not thinking about the overall effect of it later on. There's like a roll back into thinking, okay, what do our great grandchildren, if we make this one decision, what is it going to look for them? What's the world like for them if we made this little decision? And it hadn't been that way for a while. And so that's coming, there's a resurgence of that thinking. And people are noticing like, hey, this is actually working because I have to compromise everything I am in order for this to work. and I want to take up more space now, and and see how that can work out. It's no longer just about compromising. It's about people being fully all their own and still coexisting versus mutating themselves in order to be in the collective.
Okay. So is the collective like the human experience that the soul is having, like we all are having a human
Yeah.
experience, is just expressed in different ways, different experiences, different families and, you know, things like that.
So the differentiated part,
Mhm.
that's what you're describing. Yes.
Okay. 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 I just want to make sure I understand the difference because it's like it's blowing my mind like, wow. I'm trying to envision it like, okay, the undifferentiated is okay, we're all having a human experience, but the differentiated is that each experience is going to be different because of the body that we were put into, and we were put into that body for a reason, right? And
Correct.
so it's like our job, is it our goal to find out what that reason is?
Not yet. I would say the first would be to cultivate oneself first. What are
Oh,
all the things that who you are? We don't know.
mm,
How are you going to get to the reason?
yeah, yeah,
You don't have enough
yeah.
information.
Right, right, right. So awareness comes first, and then you figuring out what your path is.
Mhm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, most
I just
people
want.
aren't finding their path because they haven't cultivated why they do what they do and who they are, the completeness of who they are and what they're made
Mm,
of. So how can your reason for being here show up in its in a way that you understand, in a way that you can handle,
right.
you
So
know?
what are some ways that you can bring that awareness into who you are and what your soul operating system is?
So we could do a little exercise for a quick one if you're up for it, and your
Okay.
audience. So the soul is about observing. It is objective, okay? And but the brain is a perspective, meaning, it has a point of view, right or wrong, good and bad, right? Black and white, like very polarity thinking, duality thinking. It's got to be in one category or another. Well,
Right.
we know that there's more than two colors in the rainbow. There's more than just black and white. There's infinite.
Hmm.
So the thing that's called perception is actually your soul who observes everything. It has no point of view about it. It just sees. And then the mind as the filter. And that's what makes up your quote unquote perception. And so to answer your question is that mind, that filter part, you either get very good at taking off that filter. That's the first skill. It's a difficult skill. Or two, you learn how to interchange the filter. So what that means is the very simple analogy that we all do is Instagram filters.
Hmm.
You take a picture or your selfie and you go through all these filters over the thing,
Yeah,
right? Until you
yeah.
choose the one you like. Okay.
Right.
That is literally how your brain works.
Mm,
Now there's your picture, and that's just what you look like, regardless of what
right.
you think, right? And then there's that filter. That's literally how this works. So the skill building is in the two, one, being okay seeing what is without automatically putting on a filter, and two, cycling through filters is also another skill. And that's expand this cycling through filters, and being able to do that allows you to interface with so many walks of lives, because everyone has a really unique set of filters. Everyone's lived 7 billion lives. There's 7 billion of us. There's 7 billion lives, different kind of lives running around.
Mm,
So let's take everybody back then, the exercise here, into just the observation. So you're looking at your screen right now, right? And for your listeners, whatever you're doing right now, if you're driving, don't do this.
Don't do it.
Well, you could do it. Yeah. You're walking, it's okay. But driving, maybe not. But whatever it is you're doing, just pay attention and look at the thing you're doing. So for you, you're looking at your screen, right? Okay. Now, pull back your eyes, like imagine that while you are, actually, you're not imagining, notice that while you're looking at the thing you're doing, that you are actually also aware of the lawnmower outside, cars driving by, perhaps your neighbors walking while you are paying attention to what you're doing. Okay?
Got it.
Now notice that like you've chosen not to go, oh, that thing's annoying. I'm going to just pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay. So there's all this stimuli and input there. You don't even realize it, but you are actually managing. Now, take a layer back. Most of our thoughts we don't hear for all the to-do list that you've got going on. Right now, this is the layer of like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, and I got to call so-and-so, and I got to return that email. Oh, I got to pick up some groceries, or I got to pick some eggs. That layer of thoughts. All right. So now there's these thoughts, there's all the stimuli that's going around you and what you're doing. All right. One more layer. Another layer, though, is looking at all of this just totally still. Not even paying attention to your thoughts, not even paying attention to it all at the same time.
That's hard. That's hard.
It's okay. It's just this layer of you that is just aware of all this stuff going on without a point of view about it. And it takes no action unless you're in a near-death situation for most people.
It seems difficult to do because it's like you got all these things going on in your mind, plus, all the noises and thinking about everything out there. It'll take practice to be able to like turn your mind off and really just focus on what's happening right here and now.
No, you don't turn your mind off. There's no turning off the
Oh,
mind. Yeah.
yeah.
No, none of my instructions says turn off your mind, right?
Okay, yeah. Right, right. So it's just about like not.
Just following the words exactly as I said it, not adding anything more and anything less. And welcome to the filter, right? You didn't hear, no, I don't think I said it, right? Did I say turn off your mind? No,
No,
all I
you
said was
did.
notice,
Yeah.
but that is your personal filter, right?
Mhm.
Because perhaps you've read or you thought that to do this work, you have to turn off your mind. I am not a fan of backdooring the mind. I am very respectful of the mind. And I am a big friend of the ego. I don't think people should kill off their ego in any of that kind of thinking. So the ego is a tool and we need it.
Hear that a lot nowadays, like killing the ego, getting rid of the ego in order to
There's no such thing as
whatever.
killing the ego. That's
Okay.
delusion.
Yeah, because it's a part of you, right? I mean, psychologists say you hold three identities.
Uh-huh.
So, it's a part of you and it's something
Mhm.
that you need, right? It's
Mhm.
just about, I guess, not inflating it or being ego driven, do you think?
No, there's no part of anybody's lives that is not ego driven.
Hmm.
To think that we read a book or we go to some retreat or anything and like we're all of a sudden not ego driven is false. Because when somebody finds what they're supposed to do in what they're supposed to be here for, it takes ego to carry all that out. The 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 skill of wanting something, wanting to carry out something, which is purpose or reason to be here, is ego. Period.
Interesting. I've never heard it put that way because a lot of, I guess, the trend, I guess
It's a
is a
trend.
good word for it,
Wow,
is,
it's great.
killing the
Yeah.
ego and getting rid of it and all that stuff, and that you're just gonna be totally, zen and positive all the time, and that things are just always gonna go right. Like, this is life. This is not,
Amen. This is life.
perfection world.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a
So
perfect world.
exactly. And I am very much a realist and a pragmatist when it comes to this. Have been an entrepreneur for close to 15, 17 years. I'm extremely realistic about the work that it takes to do soul work. This is not about the Zen and the no.
Hmm. Yeah, it gets ugly.
No.
So how do
This is
you
not about,
balance? Oh, I'm
mhm.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So how do you balance what is going on in your head with your heart, like, or your soul, I guess? Like during the
Mhm.
exercise, I wasn't able to balance like what was going on in my mind and removing that filter. I was more so, I guess, going off of what I thought you meant. So how do you balance what's going on in a person's mind with um removing the filter and being able to like listen to your heart and your soul?
Ah, okay. So when I'm saying the soul, I'm not talking about the heart either.
Mm,
And the balancing of the heart and mind, there's no such thing. Okay. To It's a coordination, and the entity that coordinates it is the soul. Both should be happy.
okay.
Okay. It's not
Agree with
like it's not like your mind is in conflict with your heart and that whole business. Is because there's no soul governing the whole thing.
that. Mm,
Both can be happy. That is what fast alignment is. That's what real alignment is. And yeah, correct. And so you don't forsake one for the other. You
hmm.
work on what makes the brain unhappy. You work on what makes the heart unhappy. That's the key. But to be like, okay, you can, the heart, you're gonna be 80% happy, and brain, you're gonna be, oh, let's say 75% happy, and that's how you're gonna exist. Like that's a deficit on both.
Mm,
And you're either gonna burn out, or you're not gonna be able to keep up the thing you want to do. You won't be able to keep up with it because you're burning as you go. That 20% and 25%, you're literally on fumes already. You're starting from a deficit.
right.
So the how is not the balancing it. It balances itself when you are happy on both ends.
And you said the soul coordinates both
It's
of
the soul
those?
that coordinates that, because the soul doesn't care that the mind is mad or the heart is mad
Mm,
or unhappy, but it sees they're both data points, data centers. And what is data? Just stuff you look at, right? Information.
yeah.
So it just sees information. And because of that, it is able to, it works with each organ in order to calibrate what makes it feel whole.
Mm,
Okay. And so this part is the hard part. It isn't easy. Then so when I take people through this work, there's a lot of methods we go through, like art, like a lot of art, because most of everyone's mind is in the left brain. And so we switch it to the right brain, and then we synthesize the two brains, and then that the brain is happy. With the heart, there's a lot of responsibility placed over the heart, but it's really just a compass. And so we would examine what's there, what's stored there, and what causes it to feel incomplete. So the heart more is about incomplete and incompletion. Okay. Versus like right or wrong. Like the brain is very much like right or wrong, or safety or unsafe. The heart is more direction, compass. So
What feels good?
No, it's not about feeling good. So when the heart is healthy, it doesn't only go with what feels good or what feels bad. It can actually understand the point that when it's on path, it knows when something is difficult, that it's momentary.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an adjusted heart. Like that is a whole heart because it can handle it, and instead of pulling back. It knows the big picture right away. Like, oh, this is just part of it. No big deal.
Right.
So anything that causes the heart to function more than that. So usually hearts are given way more credit way more responsibility than it really does have capacity for. And the same for the brain. The brain is given a lot of responsibility, and it's really not made for that. And so anything that is put on responsibility that is not belonging in those two lanes, we work on.
Mm. Okay. So the heart is the compass that leads you, or that you can calibrate to be able to handle the direction that you're going in.
Yep.
And the mind is the processor
Yes, very
of
much so.
the information that you're receiving or that's being thrown at you. And then the soul is about being
The
able to
manager.
work both in
Yes.
order to drive your
Yes.
experience.
Yes. So
Okay. Okay.
think of it this way.
Hmm.
So when you get on a plane, you ever notice the pilot deck?
Yeah.
They got a lot of those little like dials with the
Yeah.
needles, right? So there's
Hmm.
a lot of instruments in there. And they got, for that thing to fly, stay
Right.
in the air, they got to look at all those dials and make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we have how we currently operate is we've taken one dial, or maybe two, which is the dial of the brain. Let's just say each dial is a body part. And we made that the thing that flies the whole thing.
Mm.
Well, if they only use the one instrument, I mean, that plane will crash, right? So they
Right.
use all of it. And they have a window that they look over. But the captain is a human, the soul. They are not making the brain the soul, or the heart the soul, or the stomach the soul. Okay. The soul of you sits down and looks at all the instruments, that all the dials are okay, as it's getting you to your next destination.
Okay. That's a good analogy. I can understand that. All right. So the soul is the driver. Is the driver. Is directing
That's the
you.
pilot.
But yeah, the pilot. But there are many different systems that need to be used in order for you not to burn out and be out of alignment, or um
Go off track.
go
Go.
off track, be imbalanced. Okay, I get it now. I understand. And so, how does one find their soul's purpose? So if you're able to get into alignment and you're able to understand who you are, and you got your soul operating system, how does one figure out what the destination is supposed to be? Like, what is your soul's purpose? Everyone is about finding what their purpose is in life.
Okay. So a lot in your question, the destination and what you're supposed to be doing are two different things.
Mm.
So when people are looking for the endpoint, you should know that your brain really wants the endpoint.
Mm.
And that's why you can't figure it out. You're trying to get to the end. Well, what's the end? Death. That's the end. Period.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So when you're looking for, people are looking for asking a question around purpose, which is a way of being, what you're supposed to be doing as an expression of that beingness. And you want the destination, your brain has gone hijacked the question that is for the soul.
Mm.
So let's start there.
Okay.
When you're
Okay.
looking, when somebody asks that question, what they're really asking for is the end. What the end is death. Just tell yourself that and go backwards. Ask it again. Okay.
So
So
the
that the
real
brain can
question is
quiet
what you're
down.
supposed to be doing until the
Exactly.
end. Okay. Until you die.
Yes. And so now the next is observing. The soul is really good at observing, and the brain is really not good at it, not without being like, I'm going to put this in the category of safe. I'm going to put this in the category of this person's acting right. I'm going to put this in the category of this is going to be productive. You know, to observe without point of view, without judging. That is the first skill set, is to bring that into your life more. And so that does not mean meditate. Not at all. Just observing every little thing in your life. And in the slow, it makes you slow down. But not to the point of meditating, once again.
You don't like meditation? Why?
Not right now. Mm-mm. That's for later down the line.
Oh, okay. So you're
Because
not completely opposed to it. You just got to build yourself up to it.
yeah, I feel it has an appropriate placement in the journey. And for people who are used to completing tasks and, you know, implementing very much doing modes, which is pretty much the majority of people,
Yeah.
it it causes the brain to build skills that sabotage the act of meditation
Mm.
when you introduce it too early.
How
Okay,
does it
so
sabotage it? Like, does it
oh, the
make
brain is
you?
like a muscle. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
mean to sabotage, but it won't like it. It doesn't like
Mm.
being quiet. So then it's
Yeah.
going, what are you doing? I don't like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do what I can for you to slowly not do this eventually.
Mm.
Right.
So
So
doing the soul work first helps you
the soul
not
work is in the
sabotage
yeah,
yourself.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about attacking the brain or the mind. The mind is like a muscle. Okay. And so when you lift weights,
Mm-hmm.
what muscles do, right? When you go lifting weights,
Yeah.
what happens to the muscle?
It gets bigger.
It gets bigger, it gets
It's
stronger.
stronger. Yeah.
Yeah. So over time, if you maybe started at 8 pounds or 10 pounds, maybe 3 months later, you can do 25, right?
Right. You could do more.
Okay. So when people do like limiting beliefs, mindset work, what they're giving to the brain is weights.
Mm.
And the brain gets smarter at figuring out ways around your limiting beliefs. Okay. Like it
Yeah.
wants to keep the data. You screwing with its data, it's like, I'm going to defend this data, carry it, carrying it.
So is that where the excuses come from?
Yeah. It just gets
Okay.
smarter about how, you know, so
How to go
that's
around it.
why,
Yeah.
yeah. So you don't backdoor it. You treat it with utmost respect.
Mm.
It
And
is your
that
friend.
goes with, removing the filters, removing the
Yes.
the opinions, the judgments. and just
Yes.
focusing on what it is for what
Allow
it
it to
is.
be, yes, allow it to be the data,
Okay. Okay.
because then it becomes a more complete tool for you.
Mm. So
You
then
only
how
been
would your
using it one
heart
way.
play a role in that? Like if your heart is the compass, should you turn off the feeling of your heart and just be totally objective?
No,
Okay.
people are quite surprised that they find the heart isn't upset like they thought it would be.
Hmm.
See, we assume we know what a heart will do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's the brain loves to do that. Just, oh, this
Right.
is what it's gonna do. This is what
Yeah.
it'll do. Like, but
Yeah.
you're not the heart. So how do you know?
Right. Right. We make assumptions all the time.
Yeah, hearts don't make
And
assumptions, brains do.
yeah.
So until you really experience what that is, which is you'd be most people are surprised that go through the work, like, oh, I'm not like upset. I thought I would be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's
That's
almost like they're looking
interesting.
for a fight that isn't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking
I
to be
would be
upset
like,
that
my
isn't
heart would
there.
be crushed. I would be hurt. Like it would feel like, oh, I'm unhappy or something. But you're saying the total opposite could happen. You just don't know.
We don't know. That's the brain anticipating. That's what I mean.
Right.
These are the filters. This is you are like live filter.
Exactly. Exactly. So my next question is, how does feminine energy play
Mm-hmm.
into this? Because one of the things that I talk about on this podcast is tapping into your femininity.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've come to understand femininity and feminine energy as is you being able to drop into your body and your feelings and not so much your mind and what I have to do. So we've been talking about the soul operating system and taking, so much out of it and just, letting it be. So how would feminine energy play or work together with the soul operating system?
Well, it would expand the vocabulary
Mm,
for between masculine and feminine. Remember
mhm.
how there's black and white, but there's all these colors in the middle?
Yeah.
Well, yes, on one end there's feminine energy and another end there's masculine energy. And what's in between it is infinite types of energy.
Right. Right.
And we're relegating all of us to just two energies, which is punishing for everybody.
Mm,
Okay, we're all
yeah.
energy, period, as a collective. Female, masculine, feminine, masculine energy. There's so many in between that, in that
Mhm.
whole spectrum that we're missing.
Mhm.
And so now, with that said, there is a coordination of energies, and everyone is both masculine and feminine energy.
Right.
Everyone has had to lean into their masculine, both men and women,
Right.
for a very long time. And so there's actually a lack of real definition. Maybe there's trendy definitions
Mhm.
of what that means, but I would venture to say nobody really knows what that means.
Mm,
You know why? Because nobody even knows how to manage basic energy.
mm. Basic energy
So
like what?
that energy is just energy.
Mm,
Now, we will we to address this question though. Feminine energy, from what I've observed, is soft and wild and does not do containers,
mhm.
actually. It does not do boundaries that much. The demand for boundaries is actually a masculine trait.
Hmm.
The 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 need to belong is a masculine trait,
Hmm.
to belong to the one thing. the real raw feminine energy does not feel the need to belong. It belongs to everything and everybody. That's why people think it's wild. Now that scares the masculine. The masculine needs lanes and lines and structure.
Right.
And so one begets the other. And when both people are in their masculine, there's like no appeal in the relationship. The relationship is stagnant and flat. There's no sexual appeal, there's no attraction because both are the same.
Right.
And the same thing for when there's too much feminine, both sides, both the man and the woman are both feminine, same thing. It's like there is no attraction because it's the same.
Right.
Now, it isn't that the woman has to be feminine. It can be that the man is feminine and the woman is masculine. That's okay. It's something that has to move throughout the day where you're switching into your masculine and feminine all day. It isn't that you just pick which one you are and stick with it. It's inappropriate.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay.
So you being
So,
able to use both,
yes,
fluctuating and flowing between both
correct.
for the right situation, or just,
Exactly.
to have your experience.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
so,
that
and that,
you have the best experience possible when you're able to flow between both energies.
yes, I mean, when it's your man that is in his feelings and in his emotion,
Mm-hmm.
he's in his feminine. So for you to sit there and roll around in his muck with him does what? Chaos,
Yeah.
confusion, arguments. You got to switch to your masculine and just provide space for him to work through it. You don't have to
Right.
be in it with him.
Right.
Just provide the space. Be the
Yeah.
container. Same thing that he's got to do for you. Okay,
Yeah.
so unchain the feminine and masculine from gender, first of
Mhm.
all, and then two, know both energies, because you are both energies. Regardless if you're a man or woman, you are both energies. That's what I'm going around
Right.
here trying to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, that's the whole point. You're both energies and you got to learn how to flow between both. And I was laughing because it got me to thinking about me and my husband. Like, when I'm in my feminine energy and in my feelings, I be feeling like he needs to roll in the muck with me. And he was like, because we've been together 9 years, going on 10. He was like, after all this time with you, I know not to go there with you. Like, just give
Good.
you the space.
That's the master. Yes.
Just give you the space, and eventually you'll come back to your
More.
senses
Yes.
and we'll be good. Like, and
And
when
you
he
know what
said
that
that,
is?
it was just like, okay, I can respect that.
And it is respect. He is showing you respect. He is
Mm-hmm.
showing you respect for your humanity, that humans have emotion, and he's giving
Mm-hmm.
you the dignity to just allow you to take responsibility for it because you're capable and you're smart and you're strong. And he trusts that you're going to be able to wrestle your dragon and
Right.
win. He is fully confident in that.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think women very much discredit the masculine while asking for the masculine. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's right there. I'm
They
like,
do.
why are you mad at the thing he's supposed to be doing? I don't get it.
Right, right. You need that. You need that energy to, like you said, give you the space and allow you to rein back in.
He's, yeah,
create
and
that
respect when
structure
you think about
again. Yeah.
Yes, and when you think about it, it is actually he's very much respecting you,
Right. Right.
person, as human, as a with basic human rights. And
Hmm.
so when you feel like you gotta like you're mad at them because they're not in it with you, well, let's have a look at that. What's that about? because you don't want to deal with it yourself. You can't face it. You can't, like, that's one thing, right? That's
Yeah.
okay. Like, but to again be upset at another for not being in it with you, there's what is this? Where did you learn that? Why do you think
Right.
that that's how it's supposed to resolve? He's got to watch out for the unit. If one of you
Yeah.
guys is going through a thing, then the other person's got to stand guard for the fort, right?
Right. Right.
And that's what he's doing. And you can do that for him as well. If it comes from a day of work and it's a bad day, you're going to roll around in it with him.
No,
No,
it's
he doesn't want you
draining.
to.
It's really
Yeah.
draining.
And then he doesn't want you to, and he just gets mad and like,
Yeah.
he just wants
Yeah.
like to go away. And
Right.
he
Right.
actually needs your presence to just contain and like hold the fort.
Exactly. Exactly. Like one of us gotta, stay objective and, have a different perspective.
It's
I
the
like
backup.
that.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
to be the
The
backup.
backup.
One person
Yeah.
got to be the backup.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I like that. I like that. And he's just like, I just know after 1 or 2 days you'll come back around and everything will go back to normal. And it made, I guess, my brain start paying attention to it. Like, oh, that's what that is. And, so now I'm understanding it more and working on not putting so much stock and negative emotion into, oh, you're not listening, or, you're not going through what I'm going through, or you're not feeling how I'm feeling, when it's my feelings. Like I gotta deal with that, or I need to communicate it and figure that out, instead of just assuming that he should know how I feel, and he should feel the same way, and projecting, I guess, a lot of my emotions and thoughts onto him. So
Okay, let's
definitely
tackle that.
taking that more into, yeah.
So a lot of this word projecting, I think, isn't landing with a lot of people.
Hmm.
But actually, the basic mechanism of this is that you assume that because you and your partner together all the time, you've been together for a long time, that they should know you,
Yeah.
right? And so to we got to extract this assumption that because you're together and there's been time invested, time does not mean they are you.
Right. Right.
So I have everybody say this: I am not my partner. Repeat after me: I am not
I
my
am not
partner.
my partner.
Okay. My partner
Yes.
is not me. Say it, that too. My partner
My
is not
partner
me.
is not me. Mm. Do
There's
they
no amount.
understand that? Yeah.
Yeah. There's no amount of sitting next to each other, even if you did it for your whole life, like
Hmm.
until you die, that he's ever
Hmm.
going to be in here, or that you're ever going to be inside his head.
Right.
You might know what comes out of it, and so you can anticipate, but we don't know what's in here. Just like he'll never know all the things that go on in here that you don't even say. He'll never
Right.
hear it.
Yeah, that's a good way. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Exactly. You will never be your partner, and they will never be you. And I think that's a struggle for a lot of couples. Like you said, we think because we're next to each other all the time, or we've been together for a long time, that we should be in each other's mind and know what's going on. But we were, I guess, well, not I guess, but like you were saying, we were put into different bodies to have different experiences. We have different minds, right? There's a collective, but then there's also the individual.
Correct. And it's okay that you have that. You know what that actually is? Do you have children? Do you guys have children?
Yes, we have four.
Oh, okay. So then in the early childhood, uh
Hmm.
from the minute they're born till maybe about 4 or 5, like towards the end of toddlerhood, it is human nature that these little kids, they see their parent as an extension of them.
Hmm.
They like think of your arm as their arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
like your stomach as their stomach. So we have this inherent biological thing that we do because we come here and we are helpless, right? We can't get our own milk, we can't get our own food. And so we do in those days have we do think of our parents as not even our like separate from us. They're not separate. Like we think we are our parents and our parents are us. And we
Yeah.
get very mad at them when they don't know that we're hungry or that
Yeah.
they don't know we're tired or whatever. And so it's built in to have this tendency, but know that that's your inner child functioning, coming alive, especially when you get upset.
Mm.
And so this is where the reparenting comes in. Around 6, 7, 8, 9, humans generally start to be like, oh, there's like an other. Like they'll probably start noticing, oh, look, like I remember one of my sisters, one of my friends was African American, and she's like, wow, they're so brown. That's so cool. You know, like they like start to notice little like
Differences.
differences in others. So
Yeah.
they're starting to notice what that like there's a difference between themselves and like their environment and the people around them.
Right.
And so but there's always in the mind three psyches: the child, the adult, and the parent.
Mm.
That's always all there. Now whether they're all in a good mood or not in a good mood, you know, that's what makes up the ego.
Right. Is the child more ego driven, or it kind of makes me think the child is more ego driven because
The child is
they don't
driven by
have
their
that.
stomach. That's the captain.
Just basic needs, right? Just getting basic needs met. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's more like how big is that stomach? How much?
Right.
How many hours does it
How
last?
much can I get? Give it to me. I need it now. Nope, I'm not
Yeah,
waiting.
yeah.
Oh, that was great. That was great. So, my last question would be,
Yes.
so how can how can people be in alignment with their souls and the demands of society, especially those who are in like leadership roles and ready to fulfill their goals? Because I saw that you work a lot with organizations, entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
um le- um people who are leaders and within companies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how can they be in alignment with their soul versus the demands of society, society telling them who they should be, what they should do, where they should go, how they should operate, versus what their soul is telling them, this is the right space for you.
Mm-hmm. So the first is observation. If you're gonna do this by yourself and not be facilitated, and you document.
Hmm.
I say document, but it's really journaling, recording. But this isn't journaling like today, la 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 la, like not that.
Hmm.
Okay. Just noticing, document the patternings. This happened and I reacted like this and I felt like this. All right. And when you build up a a manual of yourself, the things you do, then you can go, why do I do that? I don't know.
Hmm.
Like why? Then you excavate some of this stuff. And and so it isn't an overnight thing. However old you are right now, it's been this long that you only been operating from your brain and your body for most of your life. And so
Right.
I generally work with people. I start with 3 months. No one seems to stop after 3 months. And
Yeah.
they're like, we need a little more. Don't like let us yet. But
Yeah.
most go around a year. And a year compared to your whole life is not too bad to get into practice.
Yeah. Not at all. It'll go by
So
so quick.
it really does. And in there, there's a lot of gifts in there, which you learn to integrate. So the soul has your codes, right? Like
Mhm.
everywhere you've been and all your talents beyond like playing the piano, like not that kind of talents, but other kind of talents.
Yeah.
So that gets downloaded into this body, but this experience is also getting uploaded into the soul, the universal database, the cosmic soup. And so you're kind of, in a way, changing tires while the car is running. That's this is where we're at right now with this work. Unless I'm working with children, but for adults, that is kind of where we're at, is to try and catch you up as fast as possible to yourself.
Right.
And so there's going to be a lot of re-examining some of the automatic thought processes you have, your automatic decision making processes. Everywhere where it's an automatic, we deconstruct. And you can choose to put it back, or you can choose to play Jenga with it. And that's the exercise. In every aspect of your psyche and your heart mind connection, we reconfigure it. So then you learn the skills of reconfiguring the data you have, the life you've lived, and how do you reconfigure that based on what you want out of life.
So
instead of always using it the same way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you do get to choose what kind of life you want.
Yes. Choice versus reflex. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's kind of like you giving your power away, and you are letting the outside environment create what type of life you're going to live.
In a way. I mean, I don't know that there's such thing as giving power away. Most people have just never owned their power. So it sits. Now, someone else who has some kind of knowledge around driving their own power may overlay upon you, but like, your power is your own. It's a matter of you using it or not. And maybe if you're not using it, you feel like you're giving it away. But the responsibility, there is some there for you to always have it. Just pick it up. What does that mean? Well, it's going to mean a lot of things, depending on your situation.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah. So it's not that you're giving it away, you're just not using it, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when you stay silent, people assume it's a yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't use it, people just go, okay, I guess I'll just work over this thing then.
Right.
You don't
Just
want to
roll over you. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that they took your power and are rolling over you with it. They're just doing their own thing and rolling over.
Right. Because people are they're gonna do what they want.
Yeah, they got to keep doing their thing, right?
Yeah. And so
they
it's up to
sit
you
and
to
wait for you.
Yeah. Yep. It's up to you to be like, no, or yes, clearly, and set that boundary. This was a great conversation. Like, I feel like you definitely have a lot of knowledge and information when it comes to, like, understanding how to balance the objective and put your experience in perspective. And I like that you have such I kind of want to say a scientific mind,
I do
whereas
very much.
it's
Yes.
you have like such a scientific mind where it's
I
like,
do.
okay, I understand what you're saying, but here's the facts. Like, let's focus on, the facts and how we can best solve this problem using, what we have.
Yes.
So
You can very much do this with a scientific, data-driven mind. I love math. I you know, I love science. I actually have degrees in psychology, but the kind that like dissected the brain, like the biological psychology. I did that kind of psychology. And before that, I was a math major and a civil engineering major. And so when you have this kind of mind, it does not mean that, well, I thought for a long time it did, but it does not mean you cannot be operating from your soul.
Yeah.
The soul can keep up. The soul does quantum physics in a blink if you let it.
Mm-hmm.
So it does not mean the exclusion of another. The soul work or spirituality or any of that does not exclude science, nor does science have to exclude, our scientific mind has to exclude soul work.
Spiritual. Yeah.
Yeah, the spiritual side, but it tries to. It's not a safe place for it.
It does. It makes you like you got to choose one or the other, but no,
Yes.
you can just approach both from just a place
Well,
of
there's
just wanting
definitely
to
practices.
understand.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely practices that I've had to develop in order for the mind to not keep sabotaging and silencing the soul, because a scientific mind is a very strong mind about how the world should be and must be and how it is, and so there is it, period, right? Like
Mhm.
amen, like there's don't question nothing else.
Right.
So I didn't choose to attack it. I didn't choose to. I saw it as an asset, and it's always been the ally of the spirit.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So it is possible for
Of
both to work
course.
in harmony.
Of course.
Thank you so much for coming on and speaking um, about your knowledge, giving us a wealth of information. This was so much, and I can already tell that there's so much more to unpack. But you got to book, you got to book a consultation with Allyn, in order to really dig deep and get specific on operating from your specific soul operating system. So I will have all of her information in the description box and the show notes, where you can book a consultation with her, reach out to her, be able to learn more about her and what it is that she does, so that you can get started on your journey if you are ready to operate from your soul and get all of your systems, your mind, your heart, your soul, your stomach, your everything, in alignment and working together to be able to balance the multiple different energies that we have and get out of that black and white type of perspective and thinking. So if you are interested in that, make sure that you check the description box below and make sure that you are following us on social media. Um, and if you have any questions, especially if you are watching from YouTube, just drop them in the comments below and we will try to get them answered as best as possible. Any last words before we sign off?
The future is woo. It's up to you.
Hey, talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.